Alright, this video is about combination strikes and how to transfer from one strike to another. Because odds are, especially if you start out fighting, and even when you have been fighting for years, your first shot is oftentimes going to get blocked. So your first attempt to hit the other guy may get blocked, may be defended against, and you need to be able to transition into your next motion pretty quickly. There. Now, in a previous video, we've gone over the flat snap, gone over the nice basic comes out, and then the hand becomes a fist, you turn, and so it just comes straight out into the flat snap, into the side of the opponent's head. All right? Well, let's say they get their shield up or get their sword up in time that this hits one of those things and not their head. Now, with the initial strike, my left hip came back. This is the principle I was talking about, and how it, and the flat snap is a technique. This is the principle here. So, my left hip comes back, my right arm comes out, there's a snap. But let's say it's been blocked, it's been defended against. Well, if I continue pulling that through, now it's chambered, which means ready for another hit, and my right hip is going to come back because the attack is now coming from my left to my right. So my right hip comes back. In quick version, something along those lines. Now, I don't have tension in the sense that I don't hit, it doesn't stop, and then I start it up again, stop, start it up again. It's not start, stop. Now, because of this is fairly bouncy that I'm hitting, and because I don't have extra tension in my arm, I can bounce a little bit. Easy enough way to show it is just that little bit. See how the sword didn't just stay there? Because I relaxed, I was tense until it hit, I was properly tense until it hit, and then it bounced again. Now I use that little bounce to give myself momentum, and I just let the sword do its job. There's a previous video where I do attacks and let the sword come up one way or another. I let the momentum of the sword carry me through into the next position so I can continue with an attack one way or another. Same kind of thing going on here. I'm just using the bounce. I'm using a rebound from the target. Now, most people you're going to hit, especially in the SCA, are not this bouncy, are not this squishy. But there is still going to be a little bit of a bounce back to where you can come into something else. Now, one of the ways to train with this is find yourself something to hit and just do a little tap. See, my sword is already halfway back to being chambered, being ready, cocked if you prefer gun language. Nice. So, to start off with this particular drill, just do your normal flat snap and see where your sword bounces back. If it bounces back over here, well, maybe you do need a little bit more tension to bring it up into something that's more tactical. Yeah, in the sense that down here, it's not so dangerous to your opponent, but your arm is relaxed. Back up here, it's chambered for another strike. Even if I want to do that all day, at which point my opponent should learn something else about me and should be able to kill me pretty quickly. But have something you can hit, either a pedal, punching bag, whatever the case is, and just see where your sword bounces back to, and let it bounce back. Play with how much tension you have in your hand, in your arm, in your shoulder, so that it comes back to here. And then go from here, rather than bringing your entire arm back, rather than letting your entire arm bounce back into your original position, what I'm going to do is just let the sword bounce. I'm going to keep my hand here, and I'm going to let the sword come across this way. Simultaneously, at the same time, it's my left hip. Okay? As this bounces back, my right hip is going to come back, and I'm going to do the second strike. So, about half speed, 1, 2. My hand doesn't come all the way back. Once again, it comes up, left hip came back. Now as the momentum and the bounce brings the sword around, I let it come around. I'm not muscling it around. I'm letting the bounce bring it back around, and as I come back for the second strike, my right hip goes back. So, easiest combination, just 1, 2, and then you can go again, 1, 2. Later on, you can add 3 strikes, 4 strikes. Most of the time I've heard from SCA fighters that they have 3 to 4 strikes in mind that they can transition to, and it doesn't have to be up here, it can be down below, up top, down the mid, anything like that, but it's all bouncing from one to one, and you're still using the principles of hip one way or the other when you're coming in. So for the time being, just get to where you can transition from your first hit to your second hit, and try it on one side or the other. All right, so first hip, second, just like that. And then as you get really nice and comfortable with that, as you still feel that you're giving good shots, but you're nice and loose, you're not getting overly tired, you don't have extra tension where you don't need it, then maybe you throw a third one in there. 1, 2, maybe 3, maybe comes up a little bit. Or you can just go back to the same. Yeah. Try that out first, and then later on, I'll show you some videos with different angles of different attacks and different combinations. So you can work on those after you've gotten your transitions from one side to the other.